On this Monday night, gas prices across the country are set to rise. And in Vancouver, it's worse than it's ever been. More than $1.60 a litre. The most expensive big city to fuel up in North America. So how high do prices need to go to convince Canadians to park their cars?
Also tonight, the dangerous downside of spring, flooding. In parts of New Brunswick, people are forced from their homes, roads cut off. And for communities downstream, it could get even worse.
And later, should your mistakes live online forever, or do you have a right to be forgotten? This is The National.
Well, Vancouver has set a record, and it's nothing to brag about. The price charged for a litre of gas hit the highest level ever recorded in a major city on this continent. So, imagine paying just under $1.62. And then ask yourself, would that kind of price force you to change the way you drive? It's a question at the core of Canada's climate policy. Briar Stewart got some answers.
The city of Vancouver is already known as a pricey place to live. Now add on another ballooning expense.
We gotta fill up. We have no choice. We've got a long haul to go, so.
When I filled it up, quarter tank, it was $80.
It just is what it is. I mean, it's just a few cents different each time.
BC drivers already pay a provincial carbon tax. In Vancouver today, the Prime Minister was asked about whether Canadians should expect to pay more at the pump given the federal carbon pricing plan.
When you put a price on what you don't want, which is pollution, you encourage people to make better choices.
But so far, despite the price pressure, drivers aren't shifting en masse toward public transit and electric vehicles.
We can't gamble on gas prices making a transition.
John Axon has studied consumer behavior and done scientific modeling that shows people's transportation habits are mostly immune to rising gas prices.
It tends to be these kind of temporary, bumps in price that do get some people to change. Of course, people who have the option, they might take the bus a few times, or they might make their next vehicle purchase a little more efficient. But it doesn't really make a huge difference.
He says prices would have to be up around $4 a litre for the majority of people to give up the cars and trucks they're currently driving. Just consider how much gas costs outside of North America. The country with the most expensive gas prices is Iceland, where people pay $2.72 Canadian per litre. In Norway, a gas-producing nation, it's $2.56 a litre. In the UK, $2.14. And in Japan, a country known for being expensive, it's $1.65 a litre. Where gas is cheaper is in the US.
The gas prices and the difference, it makes sense to just come down here.
And that's how many in the Lower Mainland are adapting to Vancouver's high gas prices, by making a run to the border to fill up in Washington state. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
So why do Vancouver drivers pay so much? Well, there's that provincial carbon tax and an extra fee to pay for transit improvements. Maintenance at a key refinery is also taking longer than expected. But experts say across the country, drivers should be ready for prices to go up. Summer means higher demand for all those road trips. And when refineries switch over to make summer-grade gas, which is actually a different blend than the gas used in winter, the temporary shutdowns choke supply. Plus, the U.S. supplies most of Canada's gasoline, and our low loonie makes it more expensive. But here's something to think about. Even as gas gets more expensive, drivers are eager to buy more and more large vehicles. And as Jacqueline Hansen shows us, the industry knows full well how to make money from that.
For this driver, his crossover SUV is big, but not big enough.
When my in-laws come over, it's too crammed.
So this whole back area here becomes lots of storage.
Nicole just traded in her Volkswagen Beetle for this compact crossover.
It wasn't holding the groceries and my kid and any extra people.
The bigger is better trend is one Ford is betting on. The automaker is cutting most of the cars from its lineup. Goodbye Ford Taurus, Fusion, and Fiesta. By 2022, the Mustang will be the only Ford car Canadians can buy. The company says that's because buying habits are shifting from small cars to SUVs. And industry-wide sales data backs that up. Over the past decade, sales of cars have fallen almost 30%, while sales of trucks, vans, and SUVs have nearly doubled.
Expect to pay over $100 to fill this vehicle up.
Wow.
Becomes a 6 point.
Patrina Gentile is an automotive journalist. She often test drives vehicles to review them. This week, it's a Ford SUV.
This is where people are spending their money, on SUVs and trucks.
Ford is actually following in the footsteps of Fiat Chrysler. Over the past 2 years, it shifted its main focus to trucks and Jeeps.
Ford sees that they're making money and they're trying to cash in.
But this is not the death of the car. GM, Honda, and Toyota are still in the game. And as prices at the pump hit record highs in some areas, smaller, more fuel-efficient vehicles may become more appealing.
So there is a bit of risk for Ford in terms of putting all their money into the SUVs and trucks.
SUVs have made big gains in fuel efficiency, but for consumers, whether or not a vehicle is good on gas may not be their highest priority.
I think it might, but I'm not quite sure yet.
For more and more Canadians, lifestyle seems to be the biggest driver. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
And here's a look at what else we're working on. 3 young boys are being remembered tonight at a vigil in northern Manitoba. All 3 were struck and killed by an alleged drunk driver while walking and biking with friends.
And Israel's prime minister says he has the proof that Iran is lying about its nuclear weapons program. But is the proof new? What's really behind Netanyahu's theatrical primetime address?
But first, the rising floodwaters and the rising concern in New Brunswick tonight. This was a scene in Fredericton yesterday as rescuers pulled a trapped resident to safety. The St. John River has swollen by more than 8 meters in places. Water levels have stabilized there, but they could still rise downriver. Kayla Hounsell spent the day near Majorville, where residents are doing what they can to stay dry and safe.
Chris Boyd's backyard is more like a giant pool, nearly surrounding his home.
I normally do not have riverfront property. I normally just have a lawn, and the river's way over there.
With rain falling most of the day, the water level continued to rise in Majorville, New Brunswick as the St. John River spilled its banks. There's already a meter of water in Boyd's basement. Christmas decorations now a swampy mess. He says it floods a lot here, but not like this.
Yeah, I wasn't quite ready for it this year.
Boyd's neighbors weren't prepared either. They're at the end of what should be a gravel road. We use his boat to pay them a visit. We paddled for 15 minutes. When we arrive, Don Sharp and Jim Lawson are totally surrounded by water.
It kind of took us by surprise, and it was huge. The water was everywhere.
We were interrupted by a large tree floating by their window.
When we got up at 4:30, 5 o'clock Friday morning, it had raised 44 inches overnight. The truck was in the water, the driveway was under, we couldn't get out.
She's been here for 25 years and has been detailing the flood watch ever since.
2008, it was up to 133, 135 on my marker. And this year it's 120.
Sharp and Lawson aren't even in the worst case scenario. Their home is one of the last before this roadblock. We can't even get further into the community to show you what's happening there. But residents say the river is actually flowing up onto the road, bringing debris with it, simply making it unsafe to travel. Dozens of roads around the province remain closed.
From now on, we will be enforcing the law of not respecting barricades, and fines will be given out.
Back in Majorville, Don Sharp and Jim Lawson are staying put for now, waiting for the rain to let up so they can go get groceries in a canoe. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Majorville, New Brunswick.
Of course, when water levels drop, the cleanup bill will rise. New Brunswick has spent about $200 million on disaster relief since the early 90s, and the number of flood-related damage claims has tripled in the last decade, which is why it revamped its long-term flood strategy in 2014 with 3 main objectives. The first sounds simple, but could make a big difference, updating maps of flood-prone areas, many of which are decades old and don't include recently built roads and structures. Second, planning new communities and infrastructure to avoid flood zones. Building around the riskiest areas will hopefully save money and possibly lives down the road. The third is adaptation, flood-proofing homes and buildings as much as possible, and informing people who live in flood zones about what they need to do to get prepared. It's not just New Brunswick, of course. In BC, last year's wildfires could be worsening this year's flooding. Emergency officials say the loss of forest is allowing runoff to flow more easily into rivers and streams in the interior. New evacuation orders were issued over the weekend, west of Quesnel. Further south, Tulameen is under a state of emergency with new evacuation orders, and more flood watches have been posted now for Cache Creek, Merritt, and Williams Lake. But things are starting to ease up in parts of Alberta. About 300 people ordered out of the northern community of Fort Vermilion have been allowed to return. The rest of Mackenzie County is also seeing some relief as water levels drop on the Peace River, but a critical alert remains in effect for Woodlands County. Ice jams on the Athabasca River are still causing serious problems there. Okay, let's turn now to northern Manitoba and a small community that is really trying to cope after a terrible tragedy, Andrew.
Yeah, Rosie, 3 boys were out together Saturday night when all 3 were hit by a car and killed. They are 13-year-old Terrence Spence and 11-year-olds Mateo Moore Spence and Keithan Lobster. At the wheel, a man charged today with impaired driving. He, too, was a resident of Nelson House, something that comes as an added blow to that community. Now, Nelson House is part of the Cree First Nation, about 800 kilometers north of Winnipeg. Tonight, a vigil is being held there for the boys who died. But as Cameron McIntosh shows us, coming to terms with what happened will be a struggle.
As the road near the accident scene was being smoothed back over, a tire track of a bicycle could still be seen in the muddy shoulder. This is a tight-knit northern community, so the depth of sorrow over the 3 young lives lost is almost too much to bear. Sam Dysart was a great-grandfather to 2 of the boys.
I healed myself by thinking and praying. And we stick together as a family.
It was about 10:30 Saturday night. 5 boys, all close friends, were making their way along this road north, away from town. 2 of them were walking, 3 of them were on bikes. They would have been hard to see. There's no lights anywhere along here, and there was no moonlight that night, and a couple of the kids were wearing black. Right about here, a car struck and killed 3 of them. The other 2 ran for help. Incidentally, that night, just a little further down the road here, there was supposed to be a check stop in the direction the vehicle was traveling. Band constables were busy at a different call.
I think the community is still in shock.
Chief Marcel Moody knew the children. He also knows the accused, 27-year-old Todd Linklater, who was well-liked and respected here, but is now facing multiple charges, including impaired driving causing death and fleeing the scene of an accident.
For the moment, I think we're going to concentrate on the families that have lost their loved ones. I think that's a priority for the nation right now.
Everybody comes together.
Community elder Diane Linklater, no relation to the accused, is a mental health therapist who is counseling the families involved.
As a custom and a tradition of our people, we come together. We all come together, and that's the best thing we can do at a time of trauma. There's not really any words that would be fitting to say.
Residents have also started a GoFundMe campaign to raise money for the victims' families. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Nelson House, Manitoba.
Now let's have a look at a primetime address in Israel that has the world's attention. In an internationally televised, web-streamed presentation, the Prime Minister claimed Iran lied to the world, and he has proof. Benjamin Netanyahu revealed an archive of documents he says show Tehran is still pursuing weapons of mass destruction. And as Derek Stoffel tells us, this is the latest and one of the most dramatic efforts so far by the Israeli Prime Minister to kill the Iran nuclear deal.
Tonight we're going to show you something that the world has never seen before.
When it comes to Israel's longtime foe, Iran, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has turned to theatrics before. This drawing made headlines when he spoke at the UN in 2012. Today, it was a PowerPoint presentation at Israel's military headquarters.
We're going to show you Iran's secret nuclear files.
Netanyahu called it a great intelligence achievement.
55,000 pages.
And 183 CDs filled with computer files. Exact copies that the Prime Minister says were obtained from a secret storage facility in Tehran, focusing on Project Ahmed. The goal, according to Netanyahu, to produce 5 warheads with a yield of 10 kilotons of TNT, which he says is 5 times more powerful than the American bomb dropped on Hiroshima.
So these files conclusively prove that Iran is brazenly lying when it says it never had a nuclear weapons program.
Iran, not surprisingly, dismissed Netanyahu's primetime TV address as propaganda, with the country's foreign minister on Twitter calling the Prime Minister the boy who cried wolf.
And Derek joins us from Tel Aviv now. Derek, just how credible is the intelligence all of this is based on?
Well, what's interesting is that Prime Minister Netanyahu did not say how Israeli spies were able to get their hands on all of these documents. And that has people here, some people wondering, well, what exactly is new in what he had to say tonight? And we do know that much of the evidence that he presented refers to Iranian activities before 2015. That's when the Iranian nuclear deal was signed. And we also know that the IAEA, the UN's nuclear watchdog, it saw a lot of what Netanyahu presented. It saw this going back, in some cases, as far as a decade ago. So, Adrian, that has some analysts here in Israel and abroad casting doubt on what the Prime Minister had to say.
Or at least what's new about it. Derek, thank you very much. So Donald Trump said he watched Netanyahu's presentation, but for now it seems the U.S. is leaving its options open.
They're not sitting back idly. They're setting off missiles, which they say are for television purposes. I don't think so. That doesn't mean I wouldn't negotiate a new agreement. We'll see what happens. But I think, if anything, what's happening today and what's happened over the last little while and what we've learned has really shown that I've been 100% right.
Trump has until May the 12th to decide whether to renege on the deal. And he said he would rip it up entirely, but that might not be in his country's best interest. In 2015, after years of intense negotiations, 6 world powers finally found common ground with Iran.
But now we are starting a new chapter of hope.
At the time, Iran was said to be close to having nuclear capability. Even so, it agreed to reduce its enriched uranium stockpiles by 98% and let atomic inspectors into its factories, labs, and military sites. In exchange, the West would gradually ease crippling sanctions.
I am confident that this deal will meet the national security interests of the United States and our allies.
The deal was hailed by the Obama administration as a step towards world peace. That's not exactly how the current president sees it.
The Iran deal was one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into.
If Trump makes good on his repeated threats to rip the deal up, that plan could backfire. Iran may end up doubling down on its efforts to build a nuclear weapon. European allies may see a U.S. reversal as a sign they just can't trust the Americans to live up to their word. And all this could make North Korea more reluctant to negotiate its own deal.
Ahead tonight on The National, why thousands of people here in Canada are getting a huge hit on their tax bill this year thanks to Donald Trump.
Also, how does Sweden recycle more than 99% of its household waste? We'll look at what lessons Canada could learn.
But first, tonight's national documentary. A sexual relationship with a student cost him his university job. Should he have the right to have that past mistake forgotten online?
It was at that point I realized that that putting the past away was never going to happen because of the digital footprint.
Tonight on The National, we are tracking some developments out of Washington and news that Canada will not be subject to steep new U.S. steel and aluminum tariffs for now. Tonight, Trump was supposed to decide what to do about the exemptions given to Canada, the EU, and Mexico. But in a statement, the White House has said he's postponed making a decision until June 1st. And porn star Stormy Daniels is ratcheting up her legal battle over her alleged affair with Donald Trump. She's now suing the president for defamation. The issue, a tweet from Trump where he called her story about being threatened to keep quiet a total con job. Daniels insists she was telling the truth. She wants a jury trial and damages.
When Trump signed a sweeping tax reform bill into law just last year, he said it would go down as one of the largest tax cuts in U.S. history. But thousands of Americans living in Canada are finding just the opposite. As Evan Dyer explained, some are being slapped by massive bills and are now being told to pay up.
We find this utterly ridiculous.
The Hermans were looking forward to a pretty comfortable retirement until last December and a six-figure tax bill.
As you know, a lot of Canadians use their small corporations for pension funds, and that's precisely what we used it for, and this would basically gut it.
We're going to have to keep working until such time as we're out of this mess.
Biggest reform of all time.
It's all because of President Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, signed in December. The law was aimed at multinational corporations that have, for years, tried to park their profits overseas to avoid U.S. taxes. Now the government wants them to pay up.
My interpretation, which is as good as anybody's, is that they're really looking to big businesses. There's huge businesses in the U.S., notably Apple Computer, that had a lot of money offshore, and they wanted a way to bring it back into the U.S.
But it's ended up hitting thousands of independent business owners living in Canada who are dual or U.S. citizens. People like the Hermans,
and action,
whose film production company makes commercials for brands like Adidas and Pennzoil.
Well, they're steamed, and rightly so. They got sideswiped, and they are not the targets. We have seen bills in the many hundreds of thousands of dollars, and of course we've seen many bills in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Many of those affected have no financial ties to the U.S.
We don't have any offices in the U.S. Not only that, we're not allowed to open a bank account in the U.S. because we have no address there.
A spokesman for Finance Minister Bill Morneau tells CBC Canada is still studying the issue, saying the Department of Finance is conducting detailed analytical work to consider the impact of U.S. tax reform. This work is expected to take several months. But the Hermans can't wait that long. Their first tax bill is due on June 15th.
We're in this battle now, and we've got to get through it somehow. Unscathed, if we can. And we need the help of the Canadian government to do that. They can't ignore this situation.
Now, the Hermans could always just refuse to pay, but under the existing tax treaty, the Canada Revenue Agency could come after them to collect the money on behalf of the IRS. They continue to hope the U.S. Congress will fix the law, but they're not optimistic. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
Lots more still ahead tonight on The National. He was asked to pay up front for his meal at a restaurant. Now that restaurant is being ordered to pay up thousands of dollars for infringing on his human rights.
But first, in tonight's national documentary, in an age where your past mistakes are always just a click away, should Canadians have the right to be forgotten online?
That fear when you meet people and they Google you just out of curiosity, that's always looming over my head. I have a lot of anxiety introducing myself to people.
We live in a world where your worst decisions can haunt you forever. To err is human. We all make mistakes. But for some people, moving on can be torture because the internet just won't forget. Tonight, McPherson examines a sensitive case, two people with a messy shared past they cannot escape. So decide for yourself if they should have the right to be forgotten.
At the point, at that time, you don't have the ability to see through that darkness. And you think that the easy way out is to leave it all behind, to just go, disappear.
I think if we're going to adopt a right to be forgotten here in Canada, we certainly do have to, limit it in some way.
You don't understand until you live it. It's absolutely devastating to every aspect of your life.
Think about just how much of our lives are online. I mean, what isn't there? And it's all going to be there forever. Makes you feel pretty exposed, doesn't it? Because what if you do something wrong? What if you make a mistake and that ends up there too, and it won't go away? So one of the big questions of our time is this: should we have the right to have something about ourselves taken down from the internet? Should we have the right to be forgotten? Mount St. Vincent University in Halifax. In the fall of 2014, Michael Kidd was a professor here, and it was his dream job.
I wanted to teach. I love motivating people. I love giving them an outlet to share their ideas.
But Kidd crossed a line.
I made a really bad decision by getting involved with a student, a 38-year-old student, in a consensual relationship. And what that ended up doing was it led me down a dark and dangerous path.
Fueled in part by an explicit picture of Kidd that ended up online, the story became national news. It was all over social media, too.
I went out and bought a bunch of the thickest, blackest sheets that I could find. And I boarded up all of my windows. Boarded everything up, not a ray of sunlight in there. Because I didn't want to see the outside world. I was scared.
Kidd's relationship with a student broke university policy, and Kidd was fired. His career over. But he says when he really understood that the story was never going to go away was one night when his 9-year-old daughter was asking Siri questions on his phone.
And all of a sudden she asked the question, who is Michael Kidd? And it was like something slapped me and said, get over there. I leapt off the couch, grabbed my phone from her, and said, okay, baby, let's go to bed. I took her to bed and put her to sleep. And when I came back out, I sat down on the couch and I looked at the phone, and everything was there for her to see. Every story. And words that a 9-year-old shouldn't be exposed to. And it was at that point I realized that that putting the past away was never going to happen because of the digital footprint.
Now there's another reason Michael Kidd's digital footprint is so big. The woman he had the encounter with, Tara McPherson, accused him of sexual assault. The police investigated but didn't lay charges. Still, in the age of Me Too, the question needs to be asked.
Some people will argue that even though Mrs. McPherson's allegations were never proven, that an allegation of sexual assault is enough for you not to be forgotten. What would you say to that person?
Absolutely not true. No, absolutely not.
Today, Michael Kidd wants his story removed from the internet. But should he have that right? I mean, it's a tough question that as a society we need to think about. Because if someone is allowed to be forgotten, that's basically erasing history. And are we prepared to do that? And shouldn't the other person involved in a particular story have a say as well? To this day, Tara McPherson disputes Kidd's version of events. She denies having anything to do with the illicit image ending up online and insists that she asked for it to be removed. McPherson has her own opinions about the right to be forgotten.
I think that if one party to any scenario has the right to be forgotten, then all parties should be. It shouldn't be selective to this piece or this person. It should be all or nothing. I think the story that has been presented in the media and online should be forgotten.
McPherson explains that the last few years have been hard.
That fear, when you meet people and they Google you just out of curiosity, that's always looming over my head. I have a lot of anxiety introducing myself to people. My children were affected, so I have a hyper awareness of, how this affects them. It doesn't stop with me or stop with him. It's so much bigger than that.
Now, if the bar to be forgotten online was just about how much damage has been done to people's lives, then maybe this is a slam dunk. But there's a competing interest, the public's right to know. Alan Mendelson is an internet privacy lawyer in Montreal.
When people call you and say, I want something removed from the internet, what do you say?
I tell them first off the bat that as it stands now, the law in Canada, it's going to be very difficult to get something removed. When I look at the circumstances and I look at the person and they tell me their story, and I'm like, oh, I can't do anything.
The simple answer as to why is that Canada doesn't have a right to be forgotten law. And Mendelson says there's a strong case for things to stay that way.
So if you were to take an example, let's say Vladimir Putin wants all information about things that he has done in Crimea removed from the internet. Well, those are bad things that he did in the past. So if the law in Russia says that, well, there shouldn't be bad information about Vladimir Putin on the internet, well, I think we can agree here in the West that that would be problematic.
Still, Mendelson gets all kinds of calls from people who are desperate for things to be taken down from the web. And those calls have changed his view of the internet.
When I started this 6 or 7 years ago, I would have said, well, everything should be on the internet, and we shouldn't censor the internet, and we shouldn't remove content from the internet unless it's truly illegal, child pornography or things like that. But having heard these stories and seen what it has done to real people, it's become much more difficult for me to have that opinion because I can see these actual real-world examples where, you know, people's lives have been destroyed.
Like Michael Kidd's. The sexual assault allegation will hang over his head forever. And maybe it should, maybe it shouldn't. Remember, the police investigated and no charges were laid.
I personally think that fact should be removed from the internet. You can't claim something now if something has been disproven or at least did not rise to the legal definition of sexual assault, you know, by the authorities. So as a result, you know, I would certainly support the right to be forgotten in those circumstances.
In Mendelson's opinion, Michael Kidd's case meets a kind of legal gut check. But with no right to be forgotten law in Canada, that doesn't mean much. So what options do you actually have? Well, you could go see someone like Matt Earl.
Realistically?
Earl is the founder and CEO of a company called Reputation.ca.
What are you selling?
What you're selling is an improvement in your online reputation. Basically, a lot of people are going to Google you. So we kind of get in there and manage the kinds of information that they'll come across when they do research on you.
One of the things Reputation.ca does is they put positive material online about their clients.
This is the search result when the client comes to see you?
Yep.
The idea is to push the bad links farther down in a search and make them harder to find. Michael Kidd actually contacted Reputation.ca for help, so I asked Matt Earl what he could do for him.
Right, so what we're looking at here is the search results for Michael Kidd in Google.ca. And basically what our software does is it provides a quote based on you clicking the negative ones you want to remove. This first one, obviously negative, we've got to click that. And immediately you'll see over here a quote.
Right, to get rid of number one, $27,000.
Yeah, and as you click more, you're actually going to add more cost, more time, more difficulty to suppressing those out of your top search results. So this is an incredible amount of work. This is a very difficult, very complex case. We're looking at 14 months, $2,500 a month, $35,000 to change this search result.
$35,000. So if you have money, it seems you have a better chance of hiding things you don't want on the internet. And that's not Michael Kidd. In the end, he couldn't afford Reputation.ca. Instead, he's tried to keep a low profile and piece his life together by himself. Which of course brings me to the question maybe you're wondering as well.
Why are you talking to us?
Because I believe people have the right to make a mistake and live their lives. There's other people out there who are going through the same thing every single day, men and women. And I think they have a right to be forgotten too.
Today, Michael Kidd works at a call center. And Tara McPherson never got her degree from Mount St. Vincent.
There's nothing worse as a mother than seeing your kids hurting because of something that you were attached to or involved in. I do believe that something needs to be done.
Maybe you believe that Michael Kidd and Tara McPherson have the right to be forgotten. Maybe you don't. But whatever you think, if we can't get the internet to forget, then there are no second chances for anyone. Nick Purdon, CBC News, Toronto.
So just like Canada, the United States hasn't legislated a right to be forgotten. In the European Union, though, it's the law that search engines like Google must consider requests to remove search results. So, and if they reject it, the applicant can go to court. Earlier this month, the court in the United Kingdom overruled Google on behalf of a businessman with a past criminal conviction, and observers call that a landmark case. Probably won't be the only one to watch.
Right, and we should mention, I mean, CBC News does have a policy about removing online content because we do sometimes receive requests to take certain stories down, and generally we do not comply. The policy on that reads, our published content is a matter of public record. Altering the record could undermine our credibility and the public's trust in our journalism. That being said, though, there are sometimes exceptions, for example, when there are legal issues or concerns for a person's safety.
Lots to think about there, for sure. When we come back, the National dives into Sweden's dumpsters to find out how the country manages to keep so much from landfill. Turns out Swedish homes are garbage powered.
80,000 households get the energy from this building. It's about 5 tons of garbage in that claw, and you have the same amount of energy in one claw to have energy for one villa for a year.
How do I say this delicately? We are a nation of garbage. No, I mean literally. As we've reported, Canada was singled out for producing more of it per capita than any other developed country, stuffing landfills, shipping it overseas. Sweden, on the other hand, is one of the best performers. As part of CBC's Reduce, Reuse, Rethink series, Nala Ayed went to discover the Swedish garbage secret.
By reputation, Sweden's recycling program is revolutionary. So effective, we're told, it imports garbage from other countries to keep its plants, like this one, going 24/7. Here on Sweden's west coast, garbage becomes energy.
It's about 5 tons of garbage in that claw, and you have the same amount of energy in one claw to have energy for one villa for a year.
Recycling is in Sweden's DNA, long past infancy.
We keep our plastics here, it doesn't look that nice, but
The best measure of the effort is in the daily routine at homes like this one.
I keep these separate and I bring a bag every third day or something.
The front line in Sweden's program, though, is outdoors. Depends on people's willingness to take it out all the way to the neighborhood depot, come rain, shine, or snow.
Separating it in like my daily life, it doesn't take that much for me. And I mean, I bring this on my way to work. We've been here like, I'd say tops 5 minutes, so it doesn't bother me.
But all this is actually evidence that there is still room for improvement. In a part of the world that frowns on landfills, anything that's not recycled ends up here. The Renova plant is jointly owned and operated by 10 municipalities. The garbage is burned in a furnace heated to 1,000 degrees Celsius. The heat and power then pumped back into the area's homes.
Around 80,000 households get the energy from this building, and 37% of the household get the heat from this facility.
Impressive, but critics insist burning isn't recycling and pollutes the air. So says Shlomo Dowen from UK Without Incineration Network.
The material that goes into an incinerator should not be seen as waste that has no value. It should be seen as a resource, as something that, as Paul Simon said, one man's ceiling is another man's floor.
But even more recycling, says Renova, would still produce waste to burn.
So really, we're not seeing this technology going away anytime soon?
No, we don't think so. I mean, we believe that this facility has capacity to run for at least 25, 30 years, and we're seeing that possibly we would have to build a new plant after that.
But in an effort to do less burning and more recycling, the future may increasingly look like this. Rituna is a recycling center and a mall all in one, first of its kind.
This is the sports store.
Manager Anna Bergstrom took us on a tour. Everything on sale here is made from something else. Yes, even those tables and chairs.
We accept everything. We sort it and leave it to our tenants. That's the shops, and then they will decide what to do with everything. It's a combination of wanting to save the planet and also make money out of it. I love the idea that we can make money on being sustainable. So I think that's a beautiful and brilliant business plan.
Officials insist the aim is to see incineration go the way of landfills in Sweden. In other words, pretty much obsolete. So the message here is buy less and take everyday recycling to an industrial level. Nala Ayed, CBC News, Gothenburg, Sweden.
We got some work to do still. You can find more of our stories from our special series on recycling on Facebook. We've also set up a group there where you can share your ideas, discuss what you've seen. Just search Reduce, Reuse, Rethink.
So there's lots more ahead tonight on The National, but first we want to take you to Afghanistan, no stranger to tragedy, in a place where today twin blasts echoed all around the world. After the first bomb went off in front of a building used by Afghan intelligence, a second attacker mingled amidst a group of gathering journalists and then set off his explosives. In total, 25 people were killed. At least 9 of them were journalists, including several who worked for local TV and one BBC reporter. Also killed in the blast was Shah Marai, the chief photographer for AFP Kabul bureau. Over 20 years in Afghanistan, Marai took more than 18,000 photographs. His career, like the course of war in Afghanistan, tracing a path from hope to despair. Shah Marai started in the late 90s when Afghanistan was under Taliban rule. And when the U.S. invaded, his country went through a transformation he chronicled with his camera. Marai captured a time of relative peace on the streets with both Afghans and international troops, including Canadians, full of hope. Colleague Chris Otten remembers how Marai, like everyone else, reveled in the freedom.
So I think a lot of people think about Afghanistan as a place of tragedy and bombs and so forth. But I think he enjoyed every bit as much taking pictures of the lifestyle, you know, whether it be people in fun fairs or holding hands in the parks in Kabul.
But as Marai wrote shortly before his death, the Taliban came back. They began to spread out like a virus. And over the years, more and more of Marai's photos showed the hope and promise of a new Afghanistan buckling, breaking. He concluded, 15 years after the American intervention, the Afghans find themselves without money, without work. There is no more hope. Life seems to be even more difficult than under the Taliban because of the insecurity. I have never felt life to have so little prospects, and I don't see a way out. The last story Shah Marai covered for AFP was the 5th suicide bombing in recent weeks. The 6th took his life.
Tonight on The National, investigators in Calgary are trying to figure out how a body ended up inside a washroom wall at a downtown shopping mall. Police say a maintenance worker made the discovery this morning after being called to fix a broken toilet. They removed a panel on the wall to figure out what was wrong and found the body inside. Police say one theory is that someone crawling through a vent fell and got stuck, but the investigation is ongoing. And a major court ruling against Toronto Police Constable James Forcillo. Ontario's highest court has dismissed his appeal of his attempted murder conviction for the shooting death of 18-year-old Sami Yatim. His 6-year prison sentence was also upheld. Forcillo's lawyer says his team is now considering whether to take their case to the Supreme Court.
A Toronto man is celebrating a human rights ruling when Emil Wickham, a black man, was asked to prepay for his food at a Chinese restaurant in 2014. He issued a formal complaint and today was awarded $10,000 in damages. And that is our moment of the day.
We're told that we need to pay, and like that immediately raised a red flag. We immediately asked the question, is this necessary? And we were told that it was standard procedure. It's just the weirdness of the request. And it just didn't sit right with me. And I got up and I went to each table and I asked. And no, like every table said no. This was just a time for us to unwind. And the fact that we couldn't do that in a city that really plays up its multiculturalism really said something. And I decided there and then that night that I was going to stand up for this. I would give all of this publicity, all of this attention, the monetary award away for those 2 hours with my friends.
And Rosa, you mentioned right off the top, I mean, this whole saga from start to finish has taken 4 years. And Wickham says he still hasn't received a formal apology of any kind from the restaurant itself.
And he also says that this has fundamentally changed his view about the level of inclusiveness in Toronto and that it was a rude awakening for him, and he still doesn't entirely feel accepted here.
And we should say that CBC Toronto, our friends there, did ask the restaurant for an interview. The restaurant declined, saying that the ownership had changed since this incident happened. That's The National for April 30th. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.